Can you give a mic check real quick, please?
Check. 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3.
You're both good. Well, no, never mind. You're good.
Okay. Is camera 2 supposed to be on telecast?
Nope. Coming up tonight, President Obama gave his yearly State of the Union address as he declared independence from his colleagues on Capitol Hill. Also, the bridge scandal in New Jersey with Governor Christie is still looming. We're going to talk with political analyst Victoria Diana on this issue. Also, should we be taxing the NFL? There is legislation on Capitol Hill that has been proposed. We're going to talk with two of our go-to sports guys coming up tonight. Good evening, Oswego, and welcome to the Rundown. I'm Megan Roberts. The Mexican drug war has been violent and horrifying, especially for anyone who lives in the areas affected. Step by step, city by city, the Mexican government is starting to gain control over drug warlords. WT reporter Anthony Hill was in Mexico last fall and spoke with the mayor of Cuernavaca about security in the region and how this is affecting the U.S. borders. After 5 years of political grudge battles with Congress, President Obama declared independence in his yearly State of the Union address. Obama vowed to tackle economic issues with a series of initiatives on jobs, wages, and retirement plans without the approval of Congress. The president is promising a year of action after the burden of low approval ratings and a stalemate between his colleagues on Capitol Hill. Obama's agenda for the upcoming year focused primarily on the wide gap between the richest Americans and the rest of the country. He also touched on areas he felt were successful last year, like with the issue of Syria. Obama asserted that American diplomacy mixed with a threat of force was essential in getting Syria to give up their chemical weapons. To launch his new economic plans, Obama announced an executive order raising the minimum wage to $10.10 an hour for federal contract workers. Joining me tonight to talk about the State of the Union address and what this means for the country is WTOP's political analyst Victoria Diana. Victoria, thank you for joining me tonight.
I know.
So, Victoria, do you think that the president is taking appropriate action here? What do you think this says about his leadership?
I just think right now he's taking too much control, and he's pretty much saying he doesn't care about the whole system of balancing that we have. We're supposed to have the Congress to balance out the president. And he's just saying, nope, I don't need you guys. I have a pen and I can sign off whatever order I want. And I don't think that's right.
Do you think that this is going to hurt his relations on Capitol Hill? I mean, they've already been tense for the last 5 years of his presidency. But do you think that this will hurt him, and even with his colleagues in the Democratic Party, because they could be saying, look, you're not letting us do our jobs here. What do you think this is going to do for him on Capitol Hill?
I think definitely with the Republicans, obviously they're not going to like it. They're going to think that he's taking too much of a, I don't want to use too strict of a word, but totalitarian leadership role. For the Democrats, it'll be interesting to see how they react, because they could be like, you know what, we'll agree with anything that you put out, or they could say, hey, let us do our job and let us make these laws. So it'll be definitely interesting to see. But I think what he should be doing, instead of saying, hey, I have a pen, I can do what I want, is trying to really work with the Congress and Senate.
Considering all of the polarized political atmosphere that is on Capitol Hill, do you think this is something that Obama was forced into? I mean, he has been struggling for the last 5 years to get his legislation passed, that he is trying to change the country and what he thinks is making it a better country, and it seems like Republicans won't even negotiate with him. If it says that Obama is trying to pass this, then they automatically don't want to do it. So do you think that that kind of an atmosphere is forcing him into using his executive orders?
I definitely think so. I think right now he's like a parent who is trying to scold his children and just really can't get a hold on them. So he's saying, you know what, I'm going to ground you guys, I'm going to do whatever you want, and if you don't like it, whatever. But I think it's just not going to work, but I could see how he could get pressured into that because of the atmosphere, because he feels like he doesn't have a lot of control and he doesn't have a lot of leadership.
And considering the amount of political tension that is on Capitol Hill and how polarized it is, do you think using these executive orders is now a necessary thing in order to take any action in government, or do you think it's a step too far?
I think it's a step too far. I also think that it's sad that he has to go to those lengths just to get anything done, and that it shows poor leadership on his side, but it also shows poor skills on the Congress and Senate side for not being able to agree on anything and meet halfway.
Do you think this is at all on the Republicans to blame as far as, not negotiating with Democrats? They say that they try to, but when we just see complete stalemates for the last 5 years over certain things, do you think that they're at all to blame for him feeling the need to do this as well?
Definitely. I think the Congress and Senate both haven't been up to par, especially as we saw with the government shutdown a couple months earlier. They need to step it up too. They can't.
So he's allowed to do this. In the Constitution, the president is given the right to put forth executive orders, but should he do it? Is this something that is what our government should start to become about? I mean, it's a pretty drastic move on his part. That's, as you said, not the typical way that, not what this country was founded on. It's all about the balance of power and having 3 branches in the government that oversee legislation. But he feels that it is his time to use his constitutional right to put forth executive orders. Should he do it? Is it morally right? Is it ethically right?
Yeah, no, now more than ever, they have been starting to do executive orders, and he can do it, but it is a matter of should he, and I don't think that he should do it. I don't think that's ethical for him. I think he should be focusing more on getting everybody to just agree and meet halfway instead of just saying, look, I can just do whatever I want, and I don't need you guys.
Do you think that if a Republican was in the Oval Office right now, if we had a Republican president, he would feel the need to use executive orders like this?
That's tough because it probably depends mostly on the person, but I would like to think that they wouldn't because the Republican platform more is state power rather than federal power. So I would like to say that they wouldn't do it, but I'm not sure they might.
All right, thanks, Victoria. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the conflict over the bridge scandal in New Jersey, or more popularly known as Bridgegate, is continuing to follow Governor Christie. We'll be right back.
A wildfire can come from anywhere, even the most unexpected places. But 9 out of 10 are caused by humans and can be prevented. Protect our friends in the forest.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
So what sets the Rundown apart from other newscasts is that it brings students together to voice their opinions on the world's most important political issues.
There seems to be just more events going on in 2012 than there were in previous years combined.
This nation is based on the foundation that we choose the government.
Do we use 1, 2, and 3? We work hard to bring you the most up-to-date, relevant coverage of the stories you should be following. The country has now gone over the fiscal cliff.
Is gun control necessary? How much is too much?
Does it surprise you that it's taken this long to have a serious talk about gun control? Students need to realize that this is the time when what's going on in Capitol Hill and around the world starts to affect them.
And really, the fate of the entire country is at hand here.
This is it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go camera 2.
Good evening and welcome to the Rundown. I'm Megan Roberts.
Every night before the show, me and the guys, we like to loosen up a little bit.
Blue, 42, hike!
Every now and then, Dan likes to take it a little too far. But hey, the show's all about competition, so we'll take it.
Stupid Dan with stupid football and stupid running.
Welcome back to the Rundown. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie tried to get back to normal this week, raising money for fellow Republican governors and digging out from yet another winter storm. But the Bridgegate scandal was never far behind him. Chris Fates has the latest.
Even as Chris Christie raised money for the GOP and fought the record snowfall in his state, tweeting about snowmen and school closings, he has not been able to fend off an avalanche of new subpoenas in the widening probe of the Bridgegate scandal.
Does the GW Bridge situation impact your ability to execute on those priorities for the state?
I'm shocked you brought that up.
CNN has obtained copies of 18 subpoenas issued by the Legislative Committee investigating the scandal, documents which appear to widen the scope of the probe. Lawmakers are trying to uncover whether Christie's top appointee at the Port Authority, Bill Baroni, was lying when he testified in November that the lanes were closed for a traffic study. The subpoena asks for, quote, any drafts or earlier versions of the statement read by William E. Baroni during his testimony. The subpoenas also seek details about meetings between Baroni and Port Authority lawyers.
The documents that have been provided to the committee have long shown that that was just really a cover story to try to hide the lane closure. What's important to the committee is to know why such a great amount of time was used to come up with that story.
Democrats have also asked for material unrelated to the lane closures, including toll increases and a controversial tunnel project. And some Republicans on the committee say the investigation is spinning out of control.
That's why I called it a charade. How can you call a process bipartisan when information appears to be doled out based on party affiliations, and when the debate is taking place in the media?
Documents related to the investigation have already started coming in, but some key players are still refusing to cooperate with the subpoenas, setting up what may become a constitutional showdown.
A CNN review of government records shows there were 61 car accidents on or near the George Washington Bridge the week of the lane closures. That number of accidents is about average, but CNN spoke with multiple people involved in the wrecks who all say the traffic nightmare was directly to blame. Well, joining me once again tonight is WTOP's political analyst Victoria Diana. Victoria, is this as big a deal as it's being made out to be?
No, it really is not, at least in my opinion. The Bridgegate name in itself is just the ploy by the media to make this far more crazy than it actually is. It's still bad for Christie because his polls are very down now because of the scandal. However, I think it's being overblown way out of proportion.
Do you think many people are thinking ahead to 2016, even though we have 2 more years of politics to go through, but they're starting to look at who would be possible forerunners for 2016, and Governor Christie has been at the forefront to represent the Republican Party in the presidential nomination. Do you think that this will hurt him in 2016? Do you think it'll even affect his chances to get on the ballot at all?
I think people have very poor memories, so I think this will blow over and people will forget about it. However, then once the sort of mudslinging comes, as it usually does with the campaigning, it will, by the Democratic Party, definitely be brought up. However, I hope he's a lot more moderate than most Republicans, which is why I hope it doesn't get in the way, because I think he could have a good chance.
Do you think that that it's possible for him to not have known about this? He's the governor, and these aides were direct aides underneath him who were going through this. So do you think it was possible for him to completely not know about what was happening?
I don't know how likely it is, but it is possible. I heard that he might have just found out the day of, but while they had not been involved with the planning, but then he had found out when it already had been orchestrated. I don't know if that's true, but I'd like to think he did know.
They're talking about this like it was vindictive on his part because he was not getting support from the mayor of the city or the town that was directly affected by the bridge closing. But he already knew he was going to win re-election. The mayor did not support him in re-election, but he already knew he was going to win. So does that really seem to make sense that he would go through this and risk his entire political career to be vindictive and to get back at this mayor?
It doesn't make any sense. If information does come out that he actually did know and he wasn't the planning of it, it's going to seem really petty and vindictive on his part because he was going to win. So if he did do that against the Fort Lee mayor, that would look really bad. I do think that it could have been his aides that planned it, and then he just happened to find out, and maybe they had some more personal bones to deal with the mayor of Fort Lee. But at all.
Since
knows?
the scandal has come out and since this has been revealed, he was at a 74% approval rating. He dropped to 55%. That's a major drop. He is a very well-liked man in the state of New Jersey and nationally. Where does he go from here to kind of revamp his image?
I think he just needs to stick with the fact that he is a moderate Republican and that he can appeal to both sides. And from there, he just needs to keep doing what he's been doing. I think what he did with Sandy really helped him. And so I think right now he's just riding out that Sandy, but then this got in the way, so who knows, he might lose his momentum or he might gain it from something else good that he does.
All right, well, we will definitely be watching this as it develops, and they will start the trials, of course, in regards to this. So we are going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Rundown.
A wildfire can come from anywhere, even the most unexpected places. But 9 out of 10 are caused by humans and can be prevented. Protect our friends in the forest.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
So what sets The Rundown apart from other newscasts is that it brings students together to voice their opinions on the world's most important political issues.
There seems to be just more events going on in 2012 than there were in previous years combined.
This nation is based on the foundation that we choose the government.
Do we use 1, 2, and 3? We work hard to bring you the most up-to-date, relevant coverage of the stories you should be following. The country has now gone over the fiscal cliff.
Is gun control necessary? How much is too much?
Does it surprise you that it's taken this long to have a serious talk about gun control? Students need to realize that what's going on in Capitol Hill and around the world starts to affect them.
And really, the fate of the entire country is at hand here.
This is it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go camera 2.
Good evening and welcome to The Rundown. I'm Megan Roberts.
Every night before the show, me and the guys, we like to loosen up a little bit.
Blue, 42, hike!
Every now and then, Dan likes to take it a little too far. But hey, the show's all about competition, so we'll take it.
Stupid Dan with stupid football and stupid running.
Good evening and welcome back. Speaking last Thursday at the House Democrats' strategic retreat, President Obama thanked America for being patient with the start of the Affordable Health Care Act and praised his colleagues on Capitol Hill for passing the budget and the debt ceiling on time. Take a listen as to what he had to say.
The fact that we are no longer going to see, I believe, anybody try to hold our government hostage and threaten the full faith and credit of the United States of America in order to contract policy concessions. The fact that we were able to pass a clean debt limit is just one example of why, when you guys are unified, you guys stick together, this country is better off. We are going to keep on pushing on this to make sure that here in America, everybody can enjoy the kind of financial security and peace of mind that good quality health insurance provides. And I just want to say thank you for all of you hanging in there tough on an issue that I think 10 years from now, 5 years from now, we're going to look back and say this was a monumental achievement that could not have happened had it not been for this caucus.
And even though there is much to accomplish in the next 2 years, many are looking ahead to 2016 when this country will be looking at two fresh faces from both parties as presidential candidates. At the forefront of a possible candidate for the Democrats is Hillary Clinton. Former presidential candidate Mitt Romney had this to say about what the country should focus on if Hillary Clinton were to run.
Well, I don't think Bill Clinton is as relevant as Hillary Clinton if Hillary Clinton decides to run for president. And in her case, I think people will look at her record as the Secretary of State and say, during that period of time, did our relations with nations around the world elevate America and elevate our interests, or were they receding? And I think her record is what will be judged upon, not the record of her husband. The times when he was president were by and large positive economic times for the country. On the other hand, he embarrassed the nation. He breached his responsibility, I think, as an adult and as a leader in his relationship, and I think that's very unfortunate. But I don't think that's Hillary Clinton's to explain. She has her own record, her own vision for where she would take the country, and I think that's something which will be debated extensively during the 2016 campaign.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about legislation on Capitol Hill to start taxing the National Football League. Stay tuned, you're watching The Rundown.
A wildfire can come from anywhere, even the most unexpected places. But 9 out of 10 are caused by humans and can be prevented.
So what sets The Rundown apart from other newscasts is that it brings students together to voice their opinions on the world's most important political issues.
There seems to be just more events going on in 2012 than there were in previous years combined.
This nation is based on the foundation that we choose the government.
Do we use 1, 2, and 3? We work hard to bring you the most up-to-date, relevant coverage of the stories you should be following. The country has now gone over the fiscal cliff.
Is gun control necessary? How much is too much?
Does it surprise you that it's taken this long to have a serious talk about gun control? Students need to realize that this is the time when what's going on in Capitol Hill and around the world starts to affect them.
And really, the fate of the entire country is at hand here.
This is it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go camera 2.
Good evening and welcome to The Rundown. I'm Megan Roberts.
Every night before the show, me and the guys, we like to loosen up a little bit.
Blue, 42, hike!
Every now and then, Dan likes to take it a little too far. But hey, the show's all about competition, so we'll take it.
Stupid Dan with stupid football and stupid running.
Good evening and welcome back. Senators Angus King and Senator Tom Corbin are co-sponsoring a bill that would strip the National Football League of its tax-exempt status. The bill would require that any professional sports league that makes over $10 million would have to pay taxes. A survey conducted last month by Fairleigh Dickinson University found that people overwhelmingly opposed tax breaks enjoyed by the league, while the majority had no idea that the National Football League has nonprofit status. What might be more interesting is how effective the NFL's public relations department has been at keeping the fact that the NFL does not pay taxes out of the public eye. What allows the NFL to remain tax exempt is that they fall under the trade business section of the tax code. But Major League Baseball, which is the next richest professional sports league, does not enjoy the same tax break. The NFL brings in about $9.5 billion in revenue. In such a politically divided climate, it seems that football will be the great uniter after all. Well, joining me tonight is our go-to sports guys, Dan I and Matt Stone of The Playing Field. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Of course.
Anytime.
So first of all, should we be taxing the NFL?
Well, I think this is no one's really been able to talk about this, and the NFL does get taxed. Now, it's not the league's teams, it's the office of the commissioner. So the league office does get taxed, but obviously the big news this week was that Roger Goodell makes $44 million a year. That's more than a team gets to spend in one season. So obviously when you find out information like that, that the commissioner of your league is making $44 million in the year, you're going to have some people with differing opinions.
Dan, why are we talking about this with if this isn't as big a deal with the NFL is trying to play it down, then why aren't we talking about this with the NHL or Major League Baseball? I mean, what is it about the NFL that's drawing in this attention?
Well, the NFL took advantage of this early in the 1960s when they merged their two leagues into one. They worked with Congress and made an agreement that they would not have games on Friday or Saturday nights to let high school and college football play their games and it wouldn't overlap. In exchange, the NFL then got to keep their status, and at the same time, it put Congress and NFL in the same boat that this was just going to be a hush-hush agreement that no one went to.
And as you said, this was originally devised in the 1960s when the NFL was formed. But why do you think it's taken over 50 years to talk about this? Why haven't they done this already?
I think that in this time, that's finally about time that someone raises the issue. And it hasn't been talked about because no one's seemed to care. Now that all of a sudden it caught the media at the right time after the Super Bowl, right when this started to heat up, now it's the story, and it allows, especially sports media, ESPN and Fox Sports and the big sports networks, it allows them to continue to give them something to talk about based on the NFL.
And originally, Dan said that they didn't agree to air games Friday, Saturday night. Now, all of a sudden, the NFL's adding 2 Saturday night games at the end of this upcoming season. So the original agreement's kind of being tempered with. And as May said before, the NFL is the only league, MLB second richest. That's also because the MLB season is stretched out for so long.
Right.
The fact that the NFL is able to make this amount of money in such a short span, 16 weeks, a couple preseason games, shows how powerful this league really is.
And real quick, where do you think this money is going?
Well, first of all, it's going to the pocket of the commissioner. He takes the money that the league, all 32 teams, pay dues to the league office to pay for salaries, to pay for operation costs. That goes right to Roger Goodell, the commissioner. And like we said, he made $44.2 million in 2012. I may never make $44 million in my life. And I don't know how this can possibly be executed, because in the reality of it, they say it's about the players, and we've seen this in the past with the concussion settlements and ex-player settlements. It's about the money. And the league is doing everything they can with their marketing department to make sure that no one takes away their money.
All right, guys, and this is all on the national front. This is all happening in the States, but we've got our athletes from the United States over in Sochi right now competing in the Olympics. In regards to the Olympics, though, the fact that they're in Russia has been extremely politically controversial. What is your opinion on whether or not heads of state should be going to the Olympics to support their athletes, even if they disagree with that country politically? Do you think that, I mean, the Olympics is all about sporting events, bringing the country together, or bringing the world together under sports, not about politics. So do you think that Obama, for example, is in the right to not go to Sochi because he doesn't agree with Vladimir Putin on a political level?
Well, this is tough because even going back to the 2008 games, we had the conflict in Georgia starting right as the Beijing opening ceremonies were going on.
Right.
And you had President Bush at the time sitting directly next to Vladimir Putin as Putin was finding out about all of this issue going on in Georgia, and it was a hotbed at that point that it was an invasion. And the heads of state were there, though, and at that point, that's the purest form of diplomacy, to be able to sit and watch athletes from your country and to be able to talk one-on-one. I think it presents a great opportunity that this is a uniting factor and should be utilized for both sports and politics.
Yeah, but I'm not necessarily sure that they should be required to go, that they should be mandated. You have to go support your athletes. Now, if they choose to go over, that's fine. But I do understand if they have the disagreement over, obviously, the controversy in Russia.
But the fact that the Olympics is totally unpolitical. Should Obama have gone over in support of his athletes who are over there representing the United States of America, as well as many other world leaders who opted not to go because they don't agree with Russia politically? But it's not about that. It's about the fact that your athletes are over there representing your country. Should you have showed up for the opening ceremonies to applaud your athletes as they're walking into the stadium?
Yeah, I think if he would have came for the opening ceremonies, and then obviously not going to stay for an extended period of time, but if you do come, you make face, you show that you're there in support, I can understand that.
All right, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave it there.
No
of course, they will be talking about the Olympics tonight on the playing field. What do you guys got coming up for us?
We've got plenty coming up. We're going to be talking about Michael Sam, who's been in the news as of late, as well as into more of the NFL, and once again with the Olympics.
All right, thank you both, Dan and Matt, for coming on, as well as Victoria, Diana. On behalf of everybody here at WTOP and for The Rundown, I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.